This is Sarah from the Paper Cut. I am here today to talk to you about Slimline basics. So what are Slimline cards and what do we have that can help you get started making Slimline cards? Basically, a Slimline card is a card that once it's folded, it's 3.5 wide by 8.5 tall. So our folded card is this size right here, 3.5 by 8.5. We have these as pre-scored cards in a variety of colors, including white, which I don't have here. But we also have some other products that can help you get started making your Slimline cards. For the inside of your card, we do have a text insert. So this is our text insert. It does come as a non-folded piece, so you're just folding it in half. So you fold your Slimline text insert in half. Now I've drawn the score on this card because I'm going to show you how I connect text inserts to the inside of a card. I usually put tape on either side of this score if I'm using a 1/4 inch tape. If I'm using a 1/2 inch tape, I just put tape right down the center. So many times people will put tape on the whole inside of their card. So they'll do tape all the way around and then they'll attach their text insert, and then when they go and fold it, they'll get buckling in this middle part. So by putting tape just on either side of the score and then attaching your text insert, that helps with no buckling. So hold your Slimline card at a 90-degree angle, hold your text insert, and then set your text insert right up to that score, and then close your card. Then you have your text insert attached on either side of your score and kind of loose, but there isn't any buckling in the middle. So that's the inside of your Slimline card. We also have the text inserts for A2 size cards too, which is probably the more standard size card that you're used to. So we have our Slimline card, 3.5 by 8.5. We also have envelopes to match. So this is your Slimline envelope, which is 3 7/8 by 8 7/8. Now, in comparison, the Slimline card is slightly smaller than your number 10 envelope or number 10 card, which we call that card a tower card. So you can see that our tower card is just slightly bigger than our Slimline card. Our tower card also fits in a number 10 envelope, so there you see the difference in the envelope size. So you could use the number 10 envelope for your Slimline card, but you're going to get a lot of moving around within that envelope. So it is much better to put your Slimline card in a Slimline envelope. If you want to sell your Slimline cards, we do have Slimline clear envelopes. So those clear envelopes will protect your cards and your envelopes. Or if you just want to keep them just very nice for show, the crystal clear envelopes are very nice for that. So we have our Slimline cards. Now to get started, what do we have that can help you with your Slimline cards? We have our Slimline layering swatches, which are 3.25 by 8.25. So they fit on your Slimline card with a slight border going all the way around. Other products that we have are our Slimline overlays. So the Slimline overlays either have 3 straight squares or 3 scallop squares. So those come in a variety of colors, and the one package that's really nice is our bulk variety, which has 10 colors in it, 5 of each color. And that again is available in our straight square or our scallop square. The one thing that's nice about your overlays is that they are cut slightly smaller than our Slimline layer. So our Slimline layer is 3.25 by 8.25. the Slimline overlays with the windows are cut slightly smaller, so then you can get a double layered look. We have our Slimline card, our Slimline layer, and our Slimline overlay. So without any work of cutting, you can have a nice double layered look on your Slimline card. Now, I'm also going to go through and show you how to use some of the stamps that you have in order to make Slimline cards. So there are all kinds of dies out there, and I think there's people coming out with stamps. There's dies out there that are longer, which Rubbernecker has a whole assortment of them, and we're going to get to that later. But first I'm going to show you how to use some of your products that you already have to get started on Slimline cards. So you can use our pre-cut card bases and our pre-cut layers to get started, but then you also have your stamps that you can use. So I'm going to go through first, and we're going to start with just a simple colored look by doing some brush blending. So we have, hang on one second while I find that piece. Oh, here it is. Okay, so we have a piece that's a layer, and I'm just going to start with some brush blending. For brush blending, I like to hold my brushes and put my thumb behind the tip and use a circular motion to pick up some color, start off, and then blend down. It'll be darker at the top, lighter at the bottom. Now I'm not going to do this whole thing because you don't need to watch me brush blend. You want to see more how to get the finished look. So I pre-did that both in my blue and my green. And now I'm going to use a stamp that I already have. So this stamp was meant for an A2 size card. And we can adapt this and connect it right here to make it fit all along our Slimline card. So we're just going to do that. We're going to ink it up really well. Now with it being a more solid stamp on the bottom, you want to make sure and get plenty of ink down there. And you do have a straight line down here. So you don't have to get that straight line even with your layer. It's nice to take that straight line a little bit off the edge, but I'll show you what to do to correct that just in case you don't get it off the edge. So when you're stamping, if you're new to stamping, when you're using solid stamps like that, you just want to let the ink soak in from the rubber into the paper to get a good image, and you want to go, straight pressure across it. You don't want to tilt it back and forth. So there we have our one image. Now you can see we can kind of connect our image right here. So we can use our A2 size stamp to make a Slimline card. Okay, and again, now I'm just going to try and connect these two. I'm going to be off the bottom slightly. And it's okay that your stamps run off the top. That just, it doesn't look like, it looks like you meant to do it, rather than trying to be on with all of them. If some of them run off the sides, that's okay. So now down here, had we missed this edge, this is just a little trick. You can just take your ink pad and just kind of do a direct to paper if you missed that edge. I didn't miss that edge, but I'm just kind of showing you. If you miss an edge, you can always take and do direct to paper. So there we have an A2 size stamp that we were able to adapt and stamp it twice for a Slimline card. So this is a finished card, which is a little bit lighter, but that's okay. I just wanted the darker so you could see it a little bit better with the contrast. So that's just using simple brush blending and a stamp for an A2 card to make our Slimline card. So then next, we are going to go on to stamping on one of our overlays. Now this one is a little bit lighter, so I'm going to take a stamp that's a little bit darker so you can see it a little bit better. But this is with our A2 overlays. or not our A2, our Slimline overlays. So we have our triple square overlay. Now when you're picking stamps, you want to pick a stamp that's more of a random type stamp. So if you don't hit it exactly, like if I had a chevron or something right here and I needed to line up my chevrons about right there, they wouldn't line up, or it would be very difficult. So if I take my more random, more distressed works really nice. This one kind of looks like bricks, so I'm going to do a little bit of orange on it, or a little bit of rust, and then I'm also going to hit it with a little bit of red. I'm going to start very close. I'm going to stamp this way, and it's going to end right in the middle between those two windows. So now I do need to connect it, and I did miss a little bit of inking on there, but that's okay. Now, I know the edge of my image is in a little bit from the edge of my rubber, so I'm just going to look straight down on it and try and connect them as best as I can. But again, this is a very more distressed image, so it doesn't really matter. And if you miss your stamping, like if you missed inking, you can always take a blending brush and blend some color in that area. So again, I put my thumb behind the tip of my blending brush, start off the paper, and move it onto the paper. And I can kind of do that all over, so then it doesn't look like I actually had a mistake. So there's always a way to fix everything. If you're new to stamping and it's not perfect, it's okay. If it is perfect, it would be Hallmark, and yours is handmade, so it doesn't need to be perfect. And there's always a way to fix stuff, especially with blending brushes. So there we added color to our overlay, again using an A2 size stamp, and you can hardly connect or tell where I connected my images. So that's stamping on our overlays using background stamps. Now I'm gonna show you one more. Let me find a clean area here. This card has both stamping on it and die cutting. So again, we're just going to touch base on using our background stamps for stamping, and then I'll show you how to use some of your A2 card borders for die cutting. So again, this is a stamp from Rubbernecker. It is called, I think, Random Dots or Not So Random Dots. Not exactly sure what the name of it is, but anyways, I'm going to ink it up with white ink. I'm going to start fairly close to my image or my paper. I'm going to stamp it forward, pull it up. Now I need to stamp this section. Now I can either, with these random dots, it's really easy to kind of connect them the opposite way. So rather than last time when I started and I kind of looked at it that way, I can just kind of look at it this way because I can see where my image is starting versus where my image is on my paper. So I can just kind of rock that forward, and if my dots overlap, that's okay. So again, you can hardly tell where my image starts and stops. Now for die cutting, so I'm gonna move some of this stuff. We're gonna bring the die cutter over, and then we're gonna go over die cutting with the A2 dies. Okay, so we are using this die right here in order to make some snow hills. And I'm just going to die cut it once first. And this is just on our crystal diamond print glitter paper. And I'm going to run that through. Yesterday when I was using this, it was a little tight, so now I'm just going to loosen it up. This is the crossover machine. It does have where you can adjust your pressure. That's this little dial up at the top. So if it's not cutting through, like we can see that cut through fine. If it's not cutting through, you can always adjust your pressure. Anyways, because we're using a die that, again, with that deckled hills, it's very easy to connect those. If I was doing a straight, really smooth line, sometimes it's a little bit harder. But because we have just the snow hills that are with a decal edge, we have a little bit of leeway there where we're not going to see where we connect them. So again, die cut that. So here's our hill border, which again, with the dies that are more kind of a random pattern, with the decal, it's really easy. You can't tell where I connected that. So again, using an A2 size die to make a border. There are dies out there that cut all the way across, but if you're just getting started or want to use some supplies that you already have, it's really easy to connect some dies. So that's how we made that card. And now with making this one. So the trees, again, the trees are for an A2 size card. And they actually look like this. And we're going to die cut them twice. So the metal plate that you might be seeing, that is not made by any of the die cutting machines. I just developed that because I do a ton of die cutting, and it was helping when I'm using more detailed dies. This size right here is the smaller size for a big shot. I do have one for the crossover that's a little bit bigger, but it helps die cut when you have really detailed dies. So now I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to just attach my trees fairly close. Now I am going to have a little bit where it's going to cut slightly into the previous image. I'm going to set that right up here. So now I'm going to die cut it one more time. So you can just think outside the box and use some of the supplies you have in order to make your slimline cards. Again, there's lots of dies out there for slimlines, and some of them are really cool, but if you don't want to invest in all the different dies and everything else, you can work with some of what you have. So this one, after you punch it out, you will have this border right here, and you can see it connects just slightly, but you don't hardly notice that on our finished card, which I sprayed our trees with a gold spray glitter. So the other piece that I have on there is this layer. This is one of Rubbernecker's dies. Now their dies fit on our 3 1/4 by 8 1/4 layers. So I used that to cut my Grocer Craft layer. I used our Jelly Bean Green layering swatch, which the Jelly Bean Green is part of our new set of layering swatches. So these are our Harvest color layering swatches, which these are new on our website right now, along with a couple other sets. We have our Vintage Christmas set, which is your classic red linen, your emerald green linen, and your cream linen. And then we also have our holiday set, which is a red, white, and gumdrop green. Anyways, so I used their die to cut my top layer. I used our layer of layering swatch is the jelly bean green. And then the layer in between, I added some of our brushed gold mirror card. That one I cut as an in-between layer. So the in-between layer size would be your 3 1/8 by 8 1/8. So I just want to show you with their dies. Again, here's another one of their dies. It's actually 2 of them. So it is their postage stamp die and then a diagonal stripe die that we used a lot, so we attached together with just some removable tape. But it fits nicely on our 3 1/4 by 8 1/4 layering swatch. And you'll have 2 pieces when you are done with this. I'm just going to show you that, how you can use both pieces from die cutting this. I think I'm still a little bit tight on my die cutting machine because I'm getting a little thudding there. And I also think it's because I'm using a smaller plate. My big plate is up in the front of our shop with one of my other machines. So I just have one of the smaller ones. So anyways, we have the cutout piece which you can use, or the board, the outside, and then we also have our inside piece. So when that one was cut out, after it's all punched out, you get those 2 pieces. And you can layer that. So again, you have our Slimline card, you have our 3 1/4 by 8 1/4 layer, which is what we used, and then you can layer this on top of there, which gives a nice double layered look. Or you can put your cutout piece on there as a border, and then you could stamp inside here. So by using the layering swatches that are 3 1/4 by 8 1/4 and then die cutting, you get both pieces that can layer on your Slimline card. So let's go through and show, oh, I've got one more border technique to show you. So we do have some border dies that just cut the border, and if you take and you line them up at the very top edge of just a piece of scrap paper. Now we do have some 2x12s on our website that these would be perfect for making borders on your Slimline cards. And they connect together really easily, and I'm going to show you how to connect it. Okay, so we're just going to pull that off. I'm just going to rip the scrap off of there, and then I'm going to poke out that bottom hole. Now, there is the bottom hole right here, which you're going to just place in that hole and kind of hold it in place. I'm using removable tape to hold my dies in place. And then I'm going to run that through. And pull that off. So now we have our border, and you can't even tell where I connected that die to make a slimline border, again, out of a die that is 5 3/4 long, meant for an A2 size card. You can connect it to make a border for your Slimline cards. So now I'm just going to go through and show you some of our cards and different pieces that I've used. So again, we have our tree border. We have our snowflake one that I already showed you. Now this is using our silver Miri sparkle and silver mirror card and our diamond print glitter paper. Then we have, this is one of our new colors of our overlays. It's our forest green. And I've used poinsettias in multiple colors. And then our background is our brushed gold mirror card. But that one's really pretty, really easy. again using our straight square overlay. And I stamped the background here just with a tree stamp, and then just put some simple die cuts on it. Using that same color overlay to make an autumn card. Again, this one I backed with our brushed gold mirror card, used some of our metallic papers to die cut some leaves. Our butterfly card, which I used our scallop overlay. Here's using our red triple square overlay. Now this one is very similar to one of our Christmas card kits. So this one with the sour apple overlay is our gnome Christmas card kit. That's available on our website under Christmas card kits. But this one I just took the opposite, and the red I used some silver alcohol ink and I just kind of splattered it on there. So this is just the opposite combination to make that cute Christmas card. This one, a shaker card. This one is one of Rubbernecker's triple window dies and some monsters from Impression Obsession, and I used it to make our shaker card. Now, the next segment of the Stampin' Scrapbook Expo at Home on September 1st, their mini edition, is Slimline Cards, and I'm going to be showing you how to make a shaker card using our triple window overlays and our Slimline card layers. So catch me on September 1st for that. It might not be this Halloween one, it might be a winter one, I'm not sure, I haven't designed it yet, but I will be showing you how to make a shaker card using our overlays. A couple more cards. You have this one that is again using the Rubbernecker dies and our metallic papers. And then one more. We have this one, a red Slimline card. Now when you're doing vertical, you can always separate it using some type of divider. So this is using our word layering die set for the little scallop border there. This is one of our Christmas card kits also, Scribble Tree. But when you're doing vertical, if you have a stamp or a piece of pattern paper that doesn't cover your whole card, that's a way to cover it up, is just create a divider there and create two sections of the card. So you don't always have to go all the way across a card. You can create dividers there. So that's what I have for you today with sharing our Slimline products and some just different techniques for doing Slimline cards. Be sure to join me on September 1st, where I will be showing you how to make a shaker card with the Slimline cards, and I will also be showing you how to make a waterfall card on a Slimline card. We will see you then. Thanks.